Welcome into WLBT Plus on your Saturday night. I'm Holly Emery, and I'm going to be giving you a little bit of an update on some of the stories we've been covering throughout the day in the metro area, but also in the southern region of the South. So we're going to start right here, as I mentioned, in the metro with an event that happened earlier this week, but we're getting a reaction from you earlier today. Now, we're going to take 1 second here. There we go. So we're going to start off in the city of Pearl. A controversial vote took place in Pearl earlier this week concerning the ban of liquor stores in the city, and it's continuing that ban. So quick history lesson for you. You may remember earlier in last year, so November of 2024, in the general elections, that was when an idea was placed on the ballot for Pearl voters on whether or not they would want to have liquor stores open within their city limits. Pearl is one of the few here in the metro area that still do not allow for liquor stores to be open in this area. Now, during that vote, at the time, it was 59% of voters voted yes that they want liquor stores to open in the city of Pearl. So the board then took that and they took it to a vote. That's the video you're seeing here. So Tuesday, Pearl's Board of Aldermen gathered at City Hall to cast their votes on that item to see if they could make it official. However, a 5-2 vote shot that down, and the board rejected the ordinance, meaning that those who live in Pearl still have to travel to Jackson, Flowood, Rankin County, Brandon as well, to go to a liquor store to bring that liquor or wine home. Now, one resident we spoke to earlier today says that decision that the board made on Tuesday is very frustrating for her and other residents. Take a look.
Kind of disheartening a little bit because we have to travel. See, we have to go to Brandon, or we have to go to Flowood, or we have to come here to Jackson to buy liquor. So it was pretty disheartening.
Now, we mentioned Brandon earlier being one of the places that Pearl residents do have to go to in order to get the liquor that they want to get at a store. But Brandon was the most recent city to change that, and they approved the sale of liquor inside of stores in Brandon. That vote was back in 2022. So residents are hopeful that, with outcry and enough voice from the public, that the board will change their decision, as well as just being able to open those stores in the city of Pearl. Now, next up, this man right here down on the coast, the man who is accused of shooting 5 people during spring break in 2033, will now spend 25 years behind bar. Now, during his plea, 24-year-old Dontavius McGee admitted to the shooting, but he claimed that he was previously threatened by 2 people. Again, this was spring break in Biloxi again in 2023, so he has been accused of shooting 5 people. He also is accused of shooting one of the Biloxi police officers, and they had blood running down their arm the day of that shooting. And so, as you can see, heavy police presence there on the coast in 2023. 5 people were injured on the shooting on Highway 90, again, including that police officer. McGee had no prior felony convictions and is expected to be sent back to Georgia as well, where charges are pending for an unrelated case, but that was resolved earlier this week. Now, in other regional news, we're going to go take it from here in Mississippi up to our neighbors to the north, up in Tennessee. Now, earlier this year, there was a 901 day event that's held on Beale Street every single year, and there was a shooting that happened there, and we're learning new details on the suspects that have been charged with that incident. So we're going to take you up to Beale Street here, and we hear from the mom of a 16-year-old who police say shot another teen during that incident. Excuse me, video's taking a minute to get ready. There we go. So Suntria Stackins, that's who you're seeing on your screen, is charged with accessory after the fact. Court documents say she lied to Shelby County deputies, telling them her son was not at home when police asked her that if he was or not. MPD says video shows her son pulling a gun out of his backpack and then shooting people at that 901 day along Beale Street. Now, outside court Friday, Stackins told her side of the story and what happened that day, that she and her son were both arrested. Take a look.
I said, yes, my son is in the house. He's upstairs. He might not hear any music on, but he's upstairs. He's so like, is there any guns, weapons in the house? No, ma'am, we don't have any guns or any weapons. There's none whatsoever. So they proceeded to, do whatever and get him out.
Now, the 16-year-old's case is being handled by juvenile court. That's why his name is not being released at this time, but the mother's name is. There's no word yet on whether he will be charged as an adult at this time, but of course, we'll continue to keep you updated, as well as our sister station up there, WMC, getting this information for us. Stacken's next court date is September 19th. Now, Anae joins us with a look at the forecast, and it has been, honestly, when I was driving into work today, Anae, I thought it felt like fall, and I feel like I'm being tricked a little bit.
No, this afternoon, it definitely has been a little bit more pleasant, and that is largely due to the passage of a cold front that we've actually had throughout the day, and we can see that on our first alert radar, if it will show up. There we go. Yeah, here it is. So we're seeing partly cloudy conditions right now, but if we zoom out a little bit and then we look at the rest of the state of Mississippi, and we can see along the coast at the moment now, there's that cold front that passed across the area earlier. And that gave us the more pleasant feeling that Holly was talking about a moment ago. Our temperatures were only in the mid 80s or even lower 80s in Jackson this afternoon for highs, and further north, it was over in the 70s for afternoon. So definitely got cooler thanks to the front, but some other areas, especially south of I-20, so if you're near Macomb, even parts of Lawrence County, it took longer for you to get that cold front. So you were able to be in the upper 80s, but now we're all cooling down. We'll be in the 70s around sunset, and tomorrow we'll continue to see the pleasant weather as well. Afternoon high only in the mid 80s across the region, and mostly sunny conditions. So it's going to be very dry throughout the day, and we can definitely, pretty much for the next week, we're not going to have much as far as rain chances are concerned.
Okay.
The dry air also extends to the humidity, not just the showers and storms. So our rain chances are decreasing by a lot, but so are the dew points, thankfully, because early in the morning, when I first came in for the morning shift, it was very muggy, very muggy outside. Yes. Okay. The heat index value was about 80 at around 5 in the morning. So definitely we saw all that moisture earlier, but we see kind of just a wave after that cold front to just moving down of drier air moving in on the moisture tracker. And we're going to stay fairly dry, a little bit of mild humidity picking up towards the end of the week, but we're going to see dew points in the 60s, lower 70s throughout the next week. And you can tell that as well by our temperatures. It's going to be cooler for a couple of days. We're going to be in the 80s tomorrow, and even until Tuesday, just upper 80s for afternoon high.
Right.
But the 90s are coming back towards the end of our forecast. So if we look at the first alert 7-day, kind of extend that a little bit. Next weekend, it's average temperatures. Pretty much, we're going to be back in those 90s, but you're not being completely fooled. It does feel a little bit like fall for the rest of our weekend.
Is this false fall? Is this false fall?
False fall. I say false. It depends on how, there's not a technical definition for false fall, I wouldn't say. I think it's part of the transition. Because you know how when seasons are changing, we get a lot of these fronts.
Up and down fronts.
Yes, you get the cold fronts, and then it's cold, and then it heats back up a little bit. We're starting the pattern.
Okay.
It's not just consistent 90s across the board.
Okay.
It's kind of,
So right now could be considered a little taste of false fall because we're going back up on Saturday.
Sure.
Okay.
I guess it depends on how you word it. I think I would call it, late summer, early fall. I would just call it the transition. Some people say false fall.
Okay.
But, we've had a few of these already.
Right. Okay. So we're looking at, and A's looking at the positives here that we're going to start cooling down more and more. We're seeing that pattern. Now, I did talk to Anae about this 2 weeks ago. So I just need you to jog your memory for a second. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago, I said that we should do a talk show and I would ask you just fun questions about Anae?
Yes.
I have a question for you today.
Okay.
So the Powerball right now for everybody listening is at $1.8 billion billion.
Wow.
You win. What's the first thing you're buying?
Probably a home?
A home?
A house, like a real house.
Okay, so you're being responsible.
Well, that's not necessarily responsible. You have to be careful about that. And I'm hesitant because you have to pay those property taxes continually.
Okay.
So I won't get that lump sum. Well, I would ask it for in payouts. You know how
so you do the payments.
You can get the lump sum. No, get the payments. And then I budget it out. Can I afford the taxes? I'll get a nice but humble home, not a mansion, but I got you.
So if anyone ever wondered about Anae's personality, she's the logical one out of the two of us. If you just ever figured that out.
No, Holly's buying a yacht.
I'm
going to Milan.
You didn't need to call me out in front of everybody. Absolutely, I'm buying a yacht.
Girl.
But just for those who need to look to hear a little bit more about the Powerball here, There we go. We got the Powerball. We talked to a couple people earlier this week. The Powerball jackpot, as I mentioned, has reached $1.8 billion. It's the second highest jackpot in Powerball history. Now, if a player wins the Powerball jackpot, we will have a choice between receiving an estimated $1.8 billion spread out over 29 years, or, of course, as Anae said, a lump sum. She's picking the payments. I think I'm taking the lump sum, and just personally, but that is $826.4 million. Now, since the last jackpot, there's been 101 winning tickets worth of $1 million that are available, and there's still thousands of tickets that are worth $50,000 as well. So the next ticket drawing is going to be later on tonight at around just before 10 o'clock in Central Florida in Tallahassee. So make sure that you go to Powerball.com to see if you got the winning ticket. And I have to ask you now, Nate.
Yep.
I think I know Nate enough that I think it's either he's buying a beach home or he's getting a box at the Saints.
Yeah,
At the Superdome.
it'll probably be something Saints related, sports related. I got to. You asked me that earlier, and I really didn't know.
He hesitated when I asked
I was like,
him.
what, a boat, a car? There's certain things that you think of immediately if you win that much money. But I
I'm
actually
buying a
don't.
boat.
I'm not as responsible as Anae.
Yeah, I know. And it kind of just made me rethink all my choices.
Yeah, I
But
know,
no, I'm
right?
still buying a boat. It can be my house for a while. But Nate is here to talk about sports. Of
Yes.
course, it is football Saturday. It is our favorite time of the year.
Oh,
and
make it.
so there's been a lot of great games.
Mm.
Honestly, across the country today, but
Yes.
specifically even here for our Mississippi teams.
Oh, yes. A lot of great games. Obviously, the first game that kind of got started out here in Mississippi was the Ole Miss Rebels getting a big win against Kentucky. Now, actually, I believe we got a wrong score here. That is on me. Ole Miss won that game 30-23, not 30-20. But it was a really interesting game, right? Ole Miss comes out early. They make a couple mistakes. Austin Simmons throws back-to-back interceptions on back-to-back drives, giving Kentucky an early 10-0 lead. But Ole Miss storms back before the half even closes out, gets a lead, gets to 20-20. But Ole Miss finds enough later in that game to get the win. Obviously, Simmons got hurt in that one, so we're going to see if he's going to be good for the rest of the season. That's going to be an interesting thing here. Right. Now, Southern Miss, Mississippi State, they have been scoring a little bit more since we started the show. That's actually currently 38-13 now for Southern Miss. So that was a good game early on as well. It's kind of similar to how the Southern Miss Golden Eagles lead against Mississippi State last week. Mm-hmm. Good first half, competitive first half, but then, the talent kind of just shows out in that second half for Southern Miss. They put a lot of offense together there. Okay. Now, Arizona State, Mississippi State, I'm keeping an eye on this one, y'all. This is so interesting because guess what? Mississippi State up 7-0, moving the ball right now. They're in Arizona State territory. They can go up 14 or 10-0 early in the first quarter in this game. That's a very interesting matchup. But there's been so many great games. Right. Oh my goodness, the Baylor game beating an SMU team. Oh.
I was texting. So I have a good friend. Shout out to Victor Jarvis, who I went to high school with. But he went to Baylor, and I was texting him the whole game in overtimes. 2 overtimes.
Yes,
is crazy.
It was such a good game. That was my upset of the day. But then we got another crazy upset. Florida losing to South Florida on a game-winning kick last second. They win 18-16. This is college football, y'all. This is college football at its finest. You never know who's going to win. You think the spreads say a certain thing. The favorites are someone, but you don't know, obviously. And then we got the big ranked matchup, Oklahoma versus Michigan. That's happening right now. Yep. Oklahoma currently has a 7-0 lead. So a lot of great games. Just so many great games throughout the entire country.
And we've got a close one up there at Alcorn and Alabama A&M. I need my Alcornites. Is that what they refer to themselves as?
You put me on the spot on that.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I think one of our producers is going to have to call me out after the show.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm cheering for them. I want to see some good things because I know that they've been kind of on their back foot the last couple of years, haven't they?
Yes. And this would be such a good win for them. They're out there at Alabama State. Alcorn, this is an interesting team as well when you look at the roster. I've done a little bit of research, and if you can get a win against this team, it just obviously propels them throughout the rest of the season. Okay. Mississippi Valley State, they're down right now 7-0 in the second quarter just started before we started the show. So we'll keep an eye on that one, and we'll let you know later tonight who wins all these games. So tune in at 10 o'clock so you can find out.
Absolutely. Now, I do have to say one thing. We got to talk about the podcast earlier this week.
Yes.
I know Arizona, as a Mississippi State, if you can't see the colors, I got a little bit of maroon here sporting, but the coach. I mean, can you tell me a little bit about the atmosphere at Mississippi State, just watching the
Oh.
game after the coach, if you don't know, the coach kind of mentioning playing in a small town may not be his forte.
Mm.
I'm going to put that in the nice way.
Yeah, that's
What have you noticed as a non-Bulldog about the game so far?
Yeah, she wasn't this nice before the show
I
started.
wasn't
about
that
this.
nice
No.
about the show.
No, I'm telling you, when you look at the SEC, it doesn't matter. You know, Mississippi State, they were the worst team in the SEC last year. It's
Yeah.
still SEC. It's still an SEC team, and they've reloaded. They brought in a lot of good talent. Brennan Thompson, the receiver, he's their number one. This was the guy they brought in. He's a transfer, right? But he was also a representative at SEC Media Days for the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Okay, so you talked to him a little bit.
Yes. So
Okay.
you know that he has got the leadership in that locker room, and just talking to him personally, he's a great guy too. But the talent's on the field. He is obviously their best receiver. But when you talk about the atmosphere, Mississippi State, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's a small town.
Yeah.
That is everything out there in Starkville. They are so passionate. Every single time I get to go out to one of those games, I get excited. And like you said, I don't have any ties to Mississippi
He
State.
doesn't.
No.
We were cheering against each other last week.
Yes, we
so-
were.
And we were not in the same newsroom either. I think that was probably healthier. For the
Yes.
friendship.
Yeah. I think it was probably a good decision.
Probably a good
right?
decision
Yeah.
for us. All right. Well, that's a look at all of your news as well as weather and sports for here on your Saturday night. We hope you join us at 10 p.m. on, of course, our WLBT channel for more news, weather, and again, some sports. Have a great night.